They Might Be Giants back not only with a new record, I Like Fun, but you're going to be returning to Louisville again, March 18th at the Mercury Ballroom, and we're really excited to have you guys back in town. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, we're happy to be coming back. I love the junk stores of Louisville. I hope I have a chance to check it out.
I don't think I have comparisons of the junk stores of Louisville compared to other cities. Do we have anything exceptional here?
You have wealthy people who seem to throw things away carelessly. Like Aspen, like the way Seattle used to be. I feel like if there's a certain kind of generational thing where there's like a certain, bunch of people actually have money and then they just like sort of toss their estates away, it really makes the junk stores super nice.
Well, again, the big congratulations, as they say, for the new record, I Like Fun. It's a big round number. This is your 20th. Does that mean anything extra special?
We kind of just do what we do, and it's strange how it kind of, we're on a very sort of gentle roller coaster ride where things kind of go up and things go down, and it's hard to understand why things happen or when things are going to happen. I mean, what's interesting right now is I feel like we've actually put out a fairly consistent bunch of albums in the past few years, but this one is getting a tremendous amount of notice. Mm-hmm. And in a way, I'm kind of coming to the realization that sometimes it has more to do with the world that the album is entering than the album itself. Like, I think a lot of people are really ready for a They Might Be Giants album. They're kind of happy and relieved that we're making an album. Because the world is such a chaotic kind of dystopian hellscape, and there's something kind of reassuring about They Might Be Giants record entering the world.
Right.
It's just like, and especially that it's for adults and that it's not, we're kind of mining a very strange kind of cheer up loser thing with our music, and it just makes sense to a lot of people, it seems like.
It's interesting that you say that too, because I'm in that camp. I'm relieved that there is, and I'm always excited to see a new record from you guys. And as we're happy, then you get into the lyrics, and again, there's a lot of doom in this, as it does reflect what's going on out there. And you've sort of always had a history of singing about the doom. And I sort of wonder, as you look back on those songs, is this the doom that you were talking about?
I think the doom is just sort of the adult, post-adolescent existential dread that it's not about sort of like the I can't go on in this world. It's much more about just like, oh my God, I can't quit this job. I'm stuck here. That's kind of there's sort of, it's hard to sum up. I mean, all the songs are different. There's different narrators, there's different voices in the songs, but so I don't want to just say it's all one big heap. But last year was a hell of a year, and this one looks like it's going to be even stranger. So.
I mean, the last time that you and I talked, it's when you were in Louisville on the last run, and I believe we were talking about the what was the black helicopters, which seems so innocent right now.
That's true. I mean, yeah, it's a different. It's strange. I mean, things definitely go in cycles, and a lot of things seem. I mean, I don't know. When I think about George, I feel like, did we just give George Bush a really hard time?
No, he was a bad president. He really was.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, send all your angry letters directly to the radio station.
Right here.
Not that They Might Be Giants.
No, yeah. But it's worth saying though. What I do appreciate about the way both of you write is that when you are politically minded in the songs, you always seem to find the sense of absurdity to go along with it. Whereas I feel like, me and I think most people, a lot of people at least, we sort of get stuck in the weeds of it all and can only see what's right in front of us. But you seem to always find the absurdity in it. Like, just wait.
Yeah, well, I think we're kind of preoccupied with history, and I think as writers we're also a little bit preoccupied with trying to figure out how to what we're doing have a shelf life. I mean, if you're just a pundit, if you're just talking kind of contemporaneously, improvisationally about the way things are in the world, you can definitely make a lot of hay out of like what's happening right now. when you're making a record album, all that sort of theatrical stuff, it's not going to hold up, to repeated listening, and it's certainly not going to hold up to time. I mean, I remember, I guess even just when we were making our first couple of albums, there was stuff we did in our show that was very theatrical, and it was very effective, like in a linear way, like we would do these sort of surprise kind of stunty things on stage, and people in the audience would definitely get swept up in it. But that's exactly the kind of stuff when you're actually doing the recording. You're suddenly like, well, what are we going to put in this part of the song where we have audience participation, or whatever the thing is. Like the stunt part of the song needs to be re-infused with some musical interest, because it's not gonna last.
Well, it's one ththing that I enjoy really about the, I guess the tongue-in-cheek version of the how you start out the record at all with "Let's get this over with."
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's sort of how I felt about the last couple of years anyway. It's like, well, we're in it. Let's get it over with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it was funny. Like it's sequenced. When you have a song with a title like that in it, it's hard to ignore. I mean, it wasn't designed to be the first song. I guess we were actually like listening to it with the management folks we work with, and just sort of talking about the songs we had, and they were like, maybe that should be the opener. I was like, oh, huh. I was sort of thinking it should be the closer, but then it seems like you're saying let's break up the band
and we're done.
Yeah, we don't need to send that into the world.
Oh, it's a great way to stir up press, is what it's really good at. 20 albums and it's done.
Right. I don't know. It's everything's shocking to me now. I can't believe we've done. When people say it, it doesn't sound real.
Well, that's an interesting lead into another favorite theme of yours, which is the passing of time, and you've even said recently it's one of your favorite evergreen topics that the band has in your pocket. But 20 albums in, as you get older, does the shape of that theme change for you?
Well, I think the truth is, as writers, we lean on themes of death and despair in sort of at every level. I mean, it's like I think there's some things that are very sincere and real and clear-eyed about it. There's some stuff that's kind of fantastical and just for, really almost entertainment purposes. And then at its very worst, it's a crutch. It's just like we've got a third verse. We've run out of gas. We've run out of ideas. It's like, all right, let's just blow everything up. So it's like, it's not just an evergreen theme. It's actually it's like an all-purpose. It's like the Craftsman tool that does like 9 different things.
Are you able to look back, or do you ever even look back on the older songs when you've tackled those themes and thought, oh, how naive I was? Or on the reverse line, like, wow, here I am at that whatever age I might have been talking about and nailed it.
I mean, in some ways, I'm surprised that as younger men, we were so. I felt like we could actually be sometimes we could be sort of more thoughtful than I would expect from us. I mean, considering what sort of how like sassy and sarcastic we were most of the time. I don't know. In our decrepitude, a lot of things come a little more naturally.
I really love that word, decrepitude. I don't hear that one enough.
Well, I'm using it all the time now.
I like to imagine, when you guys write, when you have a chance to write, because I don't know when you guys ever stop doing anything, but I imagine it's like a writer's room for a skit show or a sitcom, just because of what comes out of it. Is that close to the truth at all?
Well, I mean, we've done. I wish we did more things that were just like head-on collaborations, like in that kind of hothouse kind of way, because it can be very productive. And we've definitely worked that way on projects, especially things that were more like that had deadlines, like when we were doing stuff for TV and stuff like that. But when most of the writing we do, even the collaborative stuff that we do sort of long distance, and that does give us a little bit of space and a little bit of sort of, in some ways, we're kind of, I think John and I are sort of shy of one another in terms of like the process, and it's not just out of like respect, it's also out of like respect for the fragility of a good idea. I think sometimes when you're doing stuff, the good part is actually very small and specific, and you don't want to like break that off or like diminish it in any way. One of the nice things about doing music now in like the 21st century with digital audio and stuff like that, is we can actually preserve some of the weirdest recordings that we make on the demos and bring them right into the albums that we're making, because for a very long time, we were the kings. People might not be familiar with this expression, demoitis, but it's the idea that you make a quick recording of your song with just a spare instrumentation and a vocal performance. And there's something very magical about those simple recordings. And and people are always talking about how much they preferred the demo to the finished recording. And we were the kings of that. I mean, there were so many scenarios where we'd just be like, oh my God, the demo is so much better. Like, we really lost it. Somehow it just seemed like it got hit by a snowplow when we recorded the final version. And what's nice about now is we can kind of export, if there's anything of merit in the demo, we can sort of port it right into the finished recording. I mean, in fact, the whole recording process has become this kind of smeared demo to final. It's hard to even know where it stops and starts. But John and I we do this thing, very much in that sort of postal service kind of style of just sending files back and forth. And with this album, which is really a kind of a different, more unusual than our usual way of working, I actually put together a whole bunch of beats for John to write, bass lines to, or write chord progressions to, and putting together beats in and of themselves, like in that sort of abstract hip hop way, is such a strange way of working, because you want it to be exciting. It has to be exciting. Like, just nobody's going to be inspired writing to a beat that isn't inspiring, but stopping at the moment that the beat is inspiring and just letting it go. Like the beat to Let's Get This Over With is like, I gave to John, and it was just sort of this weird gospel-y sounding thing with very specific hand clap sounds and kick drum patterns. And it was an odd, I thought it was a very cool sound. I was thinking, like, I could write a song to this. And I sort of didn't particularly want to hand it off, but I knew he would, cook up something fantastic with it. So I put it in the stack of things for John,
and it worked out well. I mean, the whole record works out well. Yeah.
I think I'm very happy with it. I mean, part of it also is we just recorded a crazy number of songs for the album, and I think we pulled the 15 from like 30 tracks. So there was a very strict kind of editing process, self-editing process.
With songs, a lot of them I know for a writer, you just trying to grab hold of that inspirational thought or whatever. But I'd be curious, and I apologize for what might come across as lazy journalism here, but
that's okay.
Are there any? It's never okay, sir. Are there any? Are there any of the songs that have a particularly great backstory, just the beyond? Oh, that's a cool idea. Does any of the songs really come from an interesting spot?
Well, I can tell you, I purchased a Mellotron. Like an actual, they make this reproduction Mellotron keyboard, and it's quite an expensive instrument. It's a very unusual instrument. People might be familiar with it from, Strawberry Fields Forever or Fool on the Hill. There's a bunch of very famous Beatles songs that have very prominent Mellotron parts in them. It's a keyboard sound, but it's basically almost like a prototype of like a sampler, and it makes it has a very blunt ending. When you lift your hand up from the keys, it kind of stops everything suddenly. But you can sample anything into it. It was popular in the 60s. It was really part of the psychedelic music scene. And they just started reproducing them. And I actually, had one sent to John, and he was just like, this is too much for me. Like, I can't, I want to keep my studio super minimal. And so it just kind of came back to me with this, and it has all these enormous sound libraries in it from very far-flung places, including a sound that's featured on the song I Like Fun. At the top of the song, there's like a vocal sound, like kind of sounds a little bit like a Laurie Anderson kind of thing. It's a voice going like, ah, in this very disembodied way. And that vocal sound was actually created by Jack Bruce, the bass player of Cream.
Oh, wow.
For his personal Mellotron sound library. And what he did is he just set himself up with a glockenspiel and a microphone and just went through the scales and on the keyboard and self-recorded himself singing every note. And then you can make like a little choir of Jack Bruce's singing. And the reason I know he had a glockenspiel as a pitch reference is because on some of them you can actually still hear who have headphones on, you can still hear the glockenspiel ringing out, like that was his pitch guide. And I just thought it was so neat and odd. I mean, I've always been a huge Jack Bruce fan. I really like his voice. I like his sensibility, and there's something about those Cream records that are really exciting. And the idea that, you know, we could kind of reanimate the spirit of Jack Bruce in a song just seems very, very cool. And that really was like the jumping off point for that song was that very odd sound.
Again, nobody ever really dies. It's like
right.
hologram version, just without the hologram. You've
exactly.
reanimated him.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, he has a very distinctive voice. It's like, you know, it's got this very kind of haunted, slightly hollowed out voice, and, you know, it really just works in the song perfectly.
That's cool. I do love that song, and it is as interesting as it is bizarre that only the Might Be Giants probably could have pulled that off. So.
With a little help from Jack Bruce.
From Jack Bruce. It was really fun talking to you. We're excited. Like I said, March 18th at Mercury Ballroom. We'll be seeing you here again.
Oh God! Well, you know, thanks for plugging the show, and you know, it's always a blast. You know, getting to Louisville. I wish you know we don't come around as often as I'd like to. You know, I feel like it's like every third tour we actually get there. And there are a lot of other places that I'm so totally sick of. So.
Well, if you end up having the extra
won't mention
time,
them by name.
Yeah, you want to go junk hunting, then you know, count me in. You can.
All right.
You can show me the space. All right, man. See you around.
Thanks again.
All right. Bye.
Adios.